So, my reflection on this past week. Oh man, what a week it's been. There were times when my head almost exploded. There were times when I wanted to throw the iPad out the window. And there were times when I was so proud of myself, I could barely stand it and I had to say it out loud. The good news is, I still have my iPad, as you can see. My head did not explode, but I'm still pretty proud of myself and all the things I accomplished. So, you wanted to know what I learned this week. It's really hard to reflect back on it and be able to articulate it clearly. What did I learn this week? Well, the first thing I learned was to explore with technology. I learned to play with technology, and I learned to experiment. Taking risks, all that kind of stuff. Now, this has always been difficult. People have always said, take your iPad home, just play with it for a while. But I didn't know how to play with it. I was so behind that in my understanding that I didn't know even what to do to play. Matt, you and Susan, you created for me an environment where I could play and take risks, knowing that there was a parachute behind me. So I could jump, and I knew I'd have a soft landing. I have learned throughout this week how to use tons and tons of different apps. The things that I learned, my learning moments, they were things like in iMovie. When I did it on the iPad, I have a lot of experience doing iMovie on the computer, but on the iPad, suddenly I was confronted with all these new questions of how to do things. The biggest one I remember trying to tackle was when I used the theme music and my voice, the theme music was too loud. How do you turn it down? I knew how to do that on my iPad, on my computer, but I didn't know how to do it on the iPad. And when I did that, I was able to help other people with that and share it and feel proud I made it work. I worked in Notability. Notability was something I'd heard of but never used before. I really liked it. I loved making my app review. I found this really cool game that I'm going to do with my kids. Again, a game I haven't used since the Oregon Trail in, 1991. Anyway, I found this game called From Crown to Colony, which I can't wait for my kids to use. But I created my review in Notability. I did all the graphics, I imported pictures, I did screenshots, I did all that kind of stuff, and then recorded my voice, which took many times because in Notability, if you make a mistake, you start over again. When it came time to export, I couldn't. What I learned the hard way is that you can't export that as a complete file. It gets broken down into two files. So I have my PDF of my graphics, and then I have my voice recording. They do not go together. Matt told me that I could put it in Prezi, and I'll try that later. But right now, I'm just turning it in as two separate files because took too much time. But I went through a series of steps and tried to figure out how to fix it. And I had the tools to do that. Another thing that I learned was using Educreation. I did my flowchart. I did my flowchart on something that I thought would be simple, taking an image from my email and putting it in Google Drive. On the computer, I do it probably 15 times a day. Well, no, that's probably an exaggeration, but I did it a lot. On the iPad, it was really hard. My flowchart, again, I used Educreations, and I did some great stuff with learning how to, again, take snapshots, import them, do a flowchart, use my finger to draw, then use my voice, record that, and make it work. I can see so many ways I can use that in the classroom, especially when doing a flipped lesson where I'm giving directions on how to do something, and my kids will be able to get that. I believe, though, that I do know how to put it into Google Drive and it will be okay. I learned how to use subtext, how to explore with subtext, iBooks, Show Me, Video Jug, VoiceThread. I can't wait to try that with the kids. I have a lesson on using life cards, which are postcards, and using life cards with VideoThread. With VoiceThread is very, very exciting. I used all kinds of different apps. Using LeafSnap, what an incredible tool, and there must be many, many others like that. We've got so much out there now that it's incredible. I am a teacher who, when I started teaching, there were no computers. I am a teacher who holds up a computer in front of her classroom and say, there's no wires here? That's amazing. And now I'm the teacher that says, here's my iPad, look what I can do. Look how connected I can be to other digital people. other communities all over the world, and my kids will be able to do that too. When I think about the Sammer ladder, there is a lot that I already do, but that's really at the very beginning stages. I'm looking at my notes right now, but that's really at the augmentation phase. I can see now many ways to modify, to take what I already do and add some multimedia aspect to it. There are many of them that I look forward to trying with my kids. I'm going to start the year out right away with Who Am I, but do it more as a haiku, using Haiku Deck. I think that would be really interesting. As we my team, move toward using the EDU 2.0 platform, using Google Drive for students to keep digital portfolios, to move that way, what I have learned this week will greatly impact and change how my students and I interact, reflect, communicate, to make us better at what we do. So, thank you for that. It's pretty cool, all the things that I've learned. And the biggest thing right now, it's pretty amazing, but the biggest thing that I've learned, other than helium light, which is really a lot of fun, is that my iPad will no longer be just a really expensive streaming device hooked up to my radio to get NPR, but rather it'll be a tool that I will use all the time, at home and at school. So thank you for that. As I look back at who I was at the beginning of this week and who I am now at the end of the week, I'm very happy and very excited of all the things that we'll be able to do in class this year. So thanks.